please join us in our opening hymn, From This Bright Hour. From this bright hour and days to come, as we have gathered into one, open the gates and the light will shine all around. Let there be light. Wounds of the world begin to heal as peace with justice is made real. Open the gates and the light will shine all around. Let there be light. All are welcome, all invited to open hearts and open minds. In our living, in our learning, may we always be searching for truth and light. Now is the hour, join in the song, here in this place where we belong. Open the gates and the light will shine all around. Let there be light.
Good morning. Welcome to First Unitarian Church of Portland, where our mission is to nurture the individual spirit and to build the beloved community. We're so glad you're with us this morning for our family worship service. At the end of our service today, you'll see a link to connect with other learning community families on Zoom and to socialize and reflect on today's service. Again, welcome. Every Sunday, we light a chalice, and Cassandra will light our chalice here in the chapel this morning. If you have a chalice at home, we invite you to light it now. We are Unitarian Universalists. We light this chalice in faith, in hope, and in love.
Civil rights leader and elected representative John Lewis said, "If not us, then who? And if not now, when? Come now and let us worship together." Do you remember our theme this month? We've been exploring the theme of home. And this morning, I'd like to talk about our home that is our country. All of us that live here in the United States of America. Our country is a democracy. Do you remember that word from our principles of Unitarian Universalism? Our fifth principle says, as Unitarian Universalists, we believe that all people should have a vote about the things that concern them. That is the democratic process, and that's what we do in a democracy. So what does it mean to have a vote? It means you get a chance to say what choice you think is best, what choice is right. Whichever choice gets the most votes is the choice that will be used. In our country, we use this process to make important decisions about who our leaders will be, what some of our laws or rules will be, and how we will use our resources. An election is a time when adult Americans cast their votes. You might know about the election that is coming up in just a couple of weeks. It's an especially important election because we will be deciding who the president of our country will be. There are many other important decisions to vote about too. I got this voter guide in my mailbox this week that has information in it that will help me make my choices about how I will vote. The parents and adults in your life probably got one too. Have you seen it at your home? When you're old enough, you'll have the right to vote too. But through our country's history, and still today, some people have had to work very hard to use their right to vote. When voting first began in our country, only white men with enough money were allowed to vote, no one else. I'd like to share a story with you that's adapted from a book called Lillian's Right to Vote. It's written by Jonah Winter, and the illustrations are by Shane W. Evans. It starts with a very old woman standing at the bottom of a very steep hill. It's voting day. She's an American, and you better believe it, she is going to vote. Lillian is her name. It's a long haul up that steep hill. It's a long haul when you've been alive for 100 years. It's a long haul when you've lived the life that Lillian has and walked so far in her shoes. When Lillian looks up, it's more than blue skies she sees. She sees history. As Lillian inches up the hill, she sees her great-grandpa Edmund on his way to vote for the first time, thanks to a law that was passed in 1870. The law is the 15th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, which says that American citizens' right to vote shall not be denied on account of race or color. Even though the law does not allow women to vote, Great-Grandma Ida is with her husband. Lillian feels their dignity and their pride as they enter that courthouse for the first time. Lillian pauses to catch her breath, hearing now the voice of her uncle Levi. He is telling about those tests that he was forced to take when he tried to vote. How many bubbles are in a bar of soap? And being turned away when he failed to answer such a ridiculous question. As Lillian pushes on, she sees a brave girl standing next to her mother and father as they try to register to vote. The year is 1920, and the 19th Amendment had just passed, a law allowing women to vote. The girl is Lillian herself with her mama and papa, but they are being chased away by an angry mob. She feels the firm grip of her mother's hand as they run through the streets toward home. Now grown up, Lillian sees herself trying to register to vote for the very first time. She sees the blank piece of paper on which she must write down a section of the U.S. Constitution word for word as it is being mumbled by the registrar, a test she could not pass. No one could. "Are you going to vote?" she asks a young man who passes her on her route. "Yes, ma'am," he answers. "You better," she says, and she means it. Looking up now to the top of the hill, Lillian wonders how she'll ever make it. It looks so far, and she's so tired. Though her feet and legs ache with 100 years of walking, what fuels her ancient body is seeing those 600 people beginning a peaceful protest march from Selma to Montgomery. People who will be stopped on a bridge in Selma by police officers with clubs. All they want is justice and the right to vote. At the front is future Congressman John Lewis. As long as Lillian still has a pulse, she is going to vote. And so she keeps on climbing, keeps on seeing, this time the second march from Selma. This march also ends on the bridge with a prayer led by Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. Wherever he went, he lifted people up with his words, and his words still lift up Lillian, who, seeing the top of the hill, is not about to stop. Footstep by footstep, she keeps on going, just as the marchers from Selma to Montgomery keep on going through the cold and the rain, finally making it all the way to Montgomery on their third march. She sees them all: Martin Luther King, John Lewis, rabbis, ministers, and 25,000 others. And as she takes those final steps to the top of the hill, Lillian can hear the voice of President Lyndon Johnson on her TV saying to America, "Every American citizen must have an equal right to vote. There is no duty which weighs more heavily on us than the duty we have to ensure that right. All of us must overcome the crippling legacy of bigotry and injustice, and we shall overcome." Before Lillian walks through the doors of the building, where you better believe she will vote, she looks up and sees the same blue sky, brighter than any sky she's ever seen, that she saw on August 6, 1965. That was the day President Johnson signed the Voting Rights Act, the one law protecting all Americans' right to vote. She enters the building, and as Lillian steps into the voting booth, once again, she sees herself stepping into the voting booth in 1965 for the first time. And she knows full well she would not be standing here today were it not for the people who marched for her right to vote. Lillian enters the voting booth, and she votes. The character in this story, Lillian, was actually inspired by a real person named Lillian Allen. Lillian Allen was 100 years old in 2008, the year President Obama became president. Lillian didn't think she would live to see an African American become president. I think if Lillian was still alive now, she would be doing everything she could to encourage everyone to vote. Unfortunately, some people in power are still making it difficult for people to vote because they don't want to give up their power. They have closed voting locations to make it difficult for people to get to a place to vote that is very far away, or wait in lines for hours and hours all day, or required special identification cards that not everyone has. People of color, especially Black Americans, are most affected. But we can all do something to help. Talk with family and friends about how many Americans still must fight for their right to vote. Ask the grown-ups in your life, do they have a plan for casting their votes? Every vote is important. We must all keep working for justice in our democracy, our country, our home.
What can one little person do? What can one little me or you do? What can one little person do to help this world go round? One can help another one, and together we can get the job done. What can one little person do to help this world? Harriet Tubman was alone on the darkened road to freedom, but she couldn't leave her people far behind. Moses stretched out her hand, and she led them to the promised land, 'cause she knew that she had justice on her side. What can one little person do? What can one little me or you do? What can one little person do to help this world go round? One can help another one, and together we can get the job done. What can one little person do to help this world? When Sojourner Truth was freed, well, she got down on her knees, and she prayed to God to help her on her way. With her voice and with her might, she fought for what was right, 'cause she knew that she had justice on her side. What can one little person do? What can one little me or you do? What can one little person do to help this world go round? One can help another one, and together we can get the job done. What can one little person do to help this world? Rosa Parks sat on the bus, and the driver said, "You must move to the back of the bus or else be thrown in jail." But she stayed and stood her ground, and she brought that old law down, for she knew that she had justice on her side. What can one little person do? What can one little me or you do? What can one little person do to help this world go round? One can help another one, and together we can get the job done. What can one little person do to help this world? Brother Martin Luther King, he told the world I had a dream. He led this country's fight for human rights. We must fight for liberty until all of us are free, and we'll know that we have justice on our side. What can one little person do? What can one little me or you do? What can one little person do to help this world go round? One can help another one, and together we can get the job done. What can one little person do to help this world? One can help another one, and together we can get the job done. What can one little person do to help this world?
May we remember that when people have a voice and a vote for what matters in their lives, this is one way to affirm the inherent worth and dignity of every person. May we continue promoting justice and compassion by uplifting the voices and experiences of peoples whose right to vote is under threat again. And may we continue to speak and act courageously for everyone, together, for the long haul, always. Please join us now for a moment of silence.
John Lewis also told us, "The vote is precious. It is the most powerful nonviolent tool we have in a democratic society, and we must use it. This is the day we have been given. Let us rejoice in it and be glad. Go in peace, practice love. Amen."
Now please join us in our closing hymn, Go Your Way in Peace. Wander as you may. darkest night. Mindful make our every step, honor all within our sight. Minds and hearts now